Hi guys, I'm Krista and this is my big sister Stacy and this is Sister's Social Call.
We are two sisters talking about everything that sisters talk about. Welcome to our lives. Well, hey sis.
Hi sis. How are you today?
I'm a little spicy tonight, but we can save that for when we're talking about our peaks, pits, and plans.
You're spiced up.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear about this one.
Before we get started tonight, we want to welcome everybody back to our Sisters Social Call. Krissy, why don't you tell our listeners what we'll be talking about tonight?
Okay. This is going to be quite the conversation tonight. So a couple weeks ago, Stacy was working on Sisters Social Call on a Saturday and put out a question on Instagram asking our followers what they'd like to hear us discuss. And so in response to this question, a listener asked us to discuss my divorce and how I moved forward and remained a strong woman. So thank you, Jennifer, for the question. So we're going to talk about my divorce. I was like, oh, that's interesting that somebody wants to hear about that. And then I thought to myself, well, actually, it's kind of perfect timing for us to share this story because we are in our 40s and many people are going through divorces in their life at this present moment. So it actually is quite relevant, and I'll just get started with it all. I was in a relationship for 11 years, married for 3 of them. It was a totally chaotic, hectic relationship. I met my ex-husband at a very vulnerable time in my life. I had just moved home from Alberta. I was living out in Canmore. I'd come off of a couple-year drug bender after dealing with a previous broken heart that I never dealt with. So I came home super vulnerable, ended up meeting my ex-husband. He was a general manager of a bar, and I started waitressing there and then ended up kind of doing the bar thing with him. But the relationship was very chaotic the entire time. I look back on it in hindsight. I think to myself now, like, what the hell were you thinking? Like right now, I think that. But in the moment, you get living in this relationship. And the things that you never thought you would ever tolerate all of a sudden become the normal. There was a ton of red flags throughout the entire time in our 11-year relationships. We, in fact, had 2 times in our relationship that we had split up. One time he wanted to, the next time it was on me. So we had split a couple times, and I'd even always told myself, if you have to take a break from a partner, then you're definitely not meant to be with them. That's something I've always lived by. If you're going to share your life with someone, then you need to be able to work through the hard. That's something that I always thought. But here, I ended up 2 times having these breaks and then getting back together. But that's all part of being in a relationship with somebody who is fairly narcissistic and who is manipulative, controlling, all these things. It slowly happens. And before you know it, your entire being is stripped of you. You have no soul left, I'll tell you guys tell you the story of how the divorce kind of went down. So we got married after we were together for about 8 years, and right away we're into marriage counseling. I think my ex-husband had some expectations of what a wife should be. And for some reason, for the previous 8 years, I was doing fine. And then all of a sudden we're married and I wasn't doing fine anymore. So we go into marriage counseling, and I think he came with me to 1 session. And then that was all he needed. He didn't think he needed to go back anymore, which is a red flag in itself. How are you supposed to work on a partnership by yourself? And I never got married to get divorced. I got married thinking, okay, well, we will work through this together. Look at all the things we've already worked through. That was always in my head. Like, we've already worked through some stuff. We can surely continue to work through whatever comes our way. It's not going to be pretty, probably be miserable. So anyhow, we end up, in this marriage counseling thing, and he jams out on me, and I decide to continue to go. Because I thought, you know what? At that point in time, I was feeling very low. I was feeling like, what did I do? What the hell did I do? And that's what I was thinking. I thought, I'm just going to continue to go because I needed help. I needed help myself. I don't even really know how long we had been in marriage counseling for, but I remember I went in there one day and she just looks at me and she goes, Krista, how long are you going to do this for? And right then and there, I was like, yeah, like, how long am I going to do this for? So, anyhow, I continued on in the relationship probably for about a year after that. And it just got worse and worse and worse. So, anyways, decided we're going to go on a trip to Costa Rica. And this was kind of somewhere we would like to go. And it was kind of one of those things like, no matter how bad things got, we'd go to Costa Rica and it would be good. So we'd get out there or we'd go on a trip and it would be good. And we kind of reconnect and it would bring us back to, like, you know, the reason we were together and whatever else. It was about a few days into our trip. And this is a real raw story, you guys. You may judge me and never listen to the podcast again, but anyhow. So we go to Costa Rica a few days in and we're out and having a great time. We went for dinner, we did karaoke, we stayed in the rainforest and rented bicycles. So here we are, we're riding our bicycles back to our villa, like our Airbnb that we were at. It was 4 kilometers outside of town. And I don't care where you travel in the world, anywhere. Buddy system always, you know, that's just kind of an unwritten rule. You just always go with your buddy. And so it's midnight, we're riding our bikes back and we get, all of a sudden we're like cruising and then this flip switches in my ex-husband, which is what would happen. He would drink too much and then have this switch go off. We called him Zephyr. It was his alter ego. All of a sudden this switch goes off and he takes off. Doesn't matter the rest of the story, except for the part where we are fighting so hard. And I'm just saying, why would you leave me? Like, he just took off on his bike and left me. And then a car came up and luckily I could speak a little bit of Spanish. And I just knew that they were asking if I was okay. But still, you shouldn't leave somebody like that, especially in the dark. And you just don't know. Like the year before, somebody was killed on the beach out there. Anyhow, if we get back and I'm like, okay, like just chill out. Like, let's just go to bed. Anyways, it escalates. And he's in my face. And so I didn't know what to do. So I wound up and I punched him in the stomach because he wouldn't get out of my face and he wouldn't leave me alone. So as soon as I did that, I knew in that exact moment that I would be going home to get a divorce because I never would do that in my life. I'm not a physical person at all. And so I was like, I don't want to be with somebody that it can get to that point with, like, and I just knew if I stayed and things would just continue to get worse and worse and worse. And who knows what would happen to me or both of us, who knows? That happened. And I knew in that exact moment that our relationship was done. I just knew. I was like, I will not move forward in this relationship. And we were booked to be there for like 21 days and it was day 3. So I had a lot of time to sit and think on the beach how I was going to go about this. So takes me to the divorce part. And I knew that if I had said, I want you to leave just out of spite, he would say, no, I'm not leaving. So I had to basically sit in this relationship and until it got to the point where it was kind of like his idea almost. So, you know, I don't even think we were sleeping in the same bed. We're just like cohabitating. I'd just go to work and do whatever the hell I wanted to do and carry on. And it was awful. It was the worst 3 months ever. But I knew I just knew I had to play my cards right. Otherwise, it would not end up very well. So I basically had to wait till one day, you know, he said to me, like, what's going on? I just don't understand what's going on. And I was just said, don't you see anything wrong in this? And he's like, no, not at all. I said, well, that's the problem. Like, you think that all of this is totally normal and it's not. And I just said, like, this isn't a normal relationship. This is not how things go. And he said, well, so what do you want me to leave? And that was my golden ticket. And I said, yes, I do. I was waiting for that moment and I prayed for it. In fact, I was like, please, like, just because I knew I wanted to stay out here. My business is out here. I wanted to keep the house, the cats. I was the one that wanted out of the relationship. And I essentially had to do up our separation agreement and I had to pay for the divorce myself and I had to pay the house, assumed our joint debt, gave him a car. Yeah, so thankfully for my mom, she helped me because I would have never been able to land on my feet after that one because it sewered me financially. But I always said, money can't buy you happiness, and I will get out of this. Like, I will totally recover from this bigger and better than ever before because I've learned so much. So that kind of takes us to the end of the divorce. It was, you know what? I don't think he really wanted it, but I think he knew at that time that I was not joking around. He knew, or else he was kind of playing that card of like, I'll just carry on and do my own thing and I won't pester her and maybe she'll come chasing me back, because that's what had happened previously. But at this point in time, I was just like done. I was done. And I didn't care. So that basically sums up the divorce for those that were curious about that. Mm-hmm. And if you have any more questions about the divorce itself, feel free to shoot me a DM. I would be glad to answer those questions in there.
Sis, I have one question for sure, and maybe another one after that. But the first one I have is, you guys had a pretty tumultuous relationship leading up to getting married. And I was your witness at your wedding.
Yeah.
And your maid of honor. And I just wonder, what were you thinking getting married? And I don't mean that in the harsh way of criticism, but I'm curious to know a little bit of, like, if you had all these red flags leading up to your marriage, why'd you get married?
Well, I've been asked this a lot. And so the reality is I got married to try and fix the relationship. So I didn't get married because I was head over heels in love with this man. But I thought, you know how sometimes people, when their relationships kind of blow, they go and have kids and try to make it better? Well, I didn't do the child thing. I did the marriage thing. I thought, well, and truly, I just, I've come through so much in my life that I honestly was like, if we get married, maybe it'll give him the confidence he needs and the security he needs to be a good partner. That'll be that commitment. Maybe he's never experienced that in his life. And then maybe we should make something good out of this. And so I didn't get married out of love. I got married out of trying to fix something or make something better, which don't do that. Don't do that, my friends. That's no bueno. So yeah, that's why, sis, to be totally honest with you. Because I don't think I felt like I don't think I felt in me as a person at that point in my life that I truly deserved anything more or better than that. I think I thought that was the best that was going to come for me at that time of my life.
Mm-hmm. I did think of a second question. Relationships take two to tango, and you're a feisty one. Like, you're a strong woman and a strong head on you. In hindsight, what did you learn, or how would you carry yourself in your future relationships? Do you feel like you had to change, or like, how did you present in that relationship that contributed to your demise?
Uh-huh.
And so I'm just curious, what did you learn maybe in that relationship that you would or wouldn't bring forward into your relationship with Mark?
Oh my gosh, I learned so much. I think first and foremost is that I had a lot of previous trauma that I didn't deal with going into my relationship. And then my previous partner to that was actually an incredibly amazing partner. So I kind of came in with this, like, I had a lot of baggage, but I also had a lot of trauma. So I came in a bit of a hot mess. I definitely would say it's so important to do the work on yourself. But at that time, I think I thought I was doing the work on myself. But yeah, communication was terrible. And you know what? I think I started the relationship as a good partner, and I wanted to communicate. I wanted to be patient, and I wanted to be present, and I wanted to be supportive and all that. But my ex-husband didn't love me for me either. He wanted me to be somebody that I wasn't. He criticized the way that I dressed, the way that I looked, the way that the tattoos that I have. So I think eventually I just got into the defense mode, and I just treated him. I probably belittled him. When people treat, like, misery loves company almost. I don't know. So I think for me, and then now in retrospect, I mean, I see how much pain and how angry I've been for a lot of my life, not just because of my marriage, but so many things happened up until that point, and then add that to it. It definitely does take two to tango. I am I'm an absolute force. I know what I want. But in the whole relationship, I always wanted the best for my ex-husband as well. Like, regardless of how much he drove me insane, I always wanted the best for him and I always supported him. By the end of it, I was mean. I didn't talk nice to him. I was worn down. There was like nothing left in me. And I was just like trying to defend myself and the person that I was, the little bit of me that I had left, So it got bad. It got bad. But yeah, I mean, I just think we were oil and vinegar. I didn't come into the relationship well equipped for it. I came in needing to do a lot of work on myself, and yeah, things were messy for sure, but there's lots that I don't think that I would do anything differently. I think that everything it served its purpose, and it's, whatever. I probably wouldn't have punched him in the stomach. I regret that a lot. Because that's not me at all. And it's not that I even I probably didn't even wind him, to be honest, but I was just disgusted with myself that I got to that point of so angry that I was like, I don't even know what to do.
Were you feeling physically threatened though in that moment? If he was up in your face the whole time, I feel like that would be very scary and you were almost defending yourself. Or was it just pure out of anger?
No. He was when somebody gets in your face, if you've ever seen that, when they point their finger in their face when they're yelling at you, he was like so close to hitting my face with his finger because he was like, you, just on and on and on. No matter what I tried and did, I could never get him to calm down. I could never. Thinking about it, it's like bringing back flashbacks of some stupid shit.
Can we move on to the second part of Jen's question?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you move forward and remain a strong woman?
So when I started going to the counseling by myself, to the marriage counselor, I started to gain strength there. And that's why I continued to go, is because I could see a little myself gaining strength slowly but surely. And that's how I got the courage to actually end the marriage, because literally what I would do, I would go to her and I would sit in the chair and I would just cry for an entire hour. Hardly anything would come out of my mouth, but that's what I needed to do at that time. And I just started to gain a little bit of strength. And then finally I had enough strength in that moment to get out of the situation. I knew I was going to be okay, but a couple things. Number one, my family, they're just always there to catch me when I fall. My family was just so supportive of it. And obviously that's amazing. And my friends, it was key. But I'm going to be totally honest with you guys that I haven't always been strong. It's been a total ebb and flow of strength and weakness. And I don't even want to say weakness, but I can be strong at times and then I can be a disaster. And I think that's just part of, you're grieving the loss of a partnership, even though it was no good, but I still shared 11 years with that person. And so, yeah, initially after the divorce, I kind of went into the whole single Krista, distract yourself from all that shit, which is part of it. That's all part of coming out of a relationship and figuring yourself out. But it really wasn't until I got into my relationship with Mark that I could see in my relationship with Mark what a relationship should be. And I'm not saying that Mark and I have a perfect relationship, but he celebrates the person that I am. He loves me the way that I am. Anyways, and so when I started my relationship with Mark, all of a sudden these little things would happen. So it was things that would happen was in between Mark and I, and not even bad things. So it would just be something little. It would trigger something from my marriage, and then I would just come unglued. I didn't even know that these things were had buried themselves so deep inside of me, until I was like, holy shit, I'm going to ruin this relationship with this incredible human being if I don't sort my shit out. And it wasn't, I would have never known that stuff probably until I'd gotten into another relationship. So you can do all the work you want on yourself, of course, but until you get into relationships, holy, there's some things that happened that are deeply rooted in me. And so that's when I met Christine. I was like, I need to heal. I need to spend some time healing me from my marriage, from my time, my stint in Alberta when I was doing drugs and being crazy, from tragedy, the loss of two, well, it was like the loss of a family, actually. I just needed to start to peel back the layers and start healing. I am a strong person, and I'm not going to deny that whatsoever, because I think that's in me. It's in me. I have a strong mother. Like we are from some strong women. And so honestly, it was just mostly acknowledging that I was suffering and that there was things that I needed to work on, acknowledging it, and then doing the work. It is hard. It is messy. It is chaotic at times. Doing the work is not easy, and it is not for the faint of heart. But I know that I'm meant to experience life in such an incredible way that I would never not do the work. Because if I didn't, I would never get to experience life how I am now. And so I'm thankful for the relationships in my life that have totally supported everything in my whole life.
I had a couple thoughts.
Okay, let's hear them, Sissy.
Well, one, I think people perceive you being strong is because you have a very public persona. You have lots of followers on your social media, and is often business related. But personally, I know that you've had a lot more trials in your life than just being strong the whole time and, going through headstrong. And I think the one thing that, and this is my second point, is that the one thing that is super characteristic of you, and I don't know if you give yourself enough credit, is how tenacious and resilient you are. Like, you will fight tooth and nail for what you want in your life. And so, yes, it was pretty dark days there, especially after Canmore, and in your marriage, there was dark days, but I think you always knew in your heart that this is not the life that you want to live. And that's why, I'm so proud of you for choosing to not drink, because you know that that's part of some of the longstanding trauma defenses that you had. And so I think being just as tenacious as you are and resilient, has led you through all of that, all of the trials you've had in your life. And I just think we're at a point in our lives too right now that we're just at the very tip of the iceberg, that things are just going to go off in a very positive way in our lives. They already are.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's happening.
I think so too. I would say that for sure. That's one thing, and I don't know really where that comes from, is in me as a person that I very much, if I want something, I just go get it. And so even throughout my whole life, I quit doing drugs. I just said I'll never do it again. And I just know that I will never. I quit smoking cigarettes. I knew I'll never touch a cigarette again. I quit drinking. I knew exactly. I have a friend who he's 10 years sober now. And he told me, he said, he's like, I'm scared to have a non-alcoholic beer because I think it would trigger me and I'd start drinking again. I said, what? There's no way. You could never pay me to have a drink again. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's just not worth it to me. I'm like, you really think? And he said, I know. He said, I absolutely know that. And but I'm so headstrong in that way. And that's and even just the type of relationship I want, or I really knew what I wanted when I got my divorce. I wanted my house, I wanted my cats, and I wanted my business, and not another thing mattered to me. Those are the only things I cared about. I didn't care if I came home to this house and it would be totally freaking empty, because I just knew that's just stuff. I just kind of go after it. Sometimes it doesn't happen on my first try, but I just go after it. And I think one day we're going to talk about whatever, but I think losing John's parents it really changed the way that I saw life and how I lived my life. But there's definitely been some hiccups along the way, but nonetheless, the moral of the story here is that although I am a very strong person, it has not come, and it still comes with its moments that are not that I struggle in. But I have the right people in my court to help me through that. I'm open with my family. I talk about everything with Mom, for sure. I have Christine in place. I have things set up so that when I do feel that I'm not doing well, then I have the people in my corners. Anyway, I hope that answers the questions. What do you think? Do you think I did okay with that one?
I think you did fabulous, Sissy.
I am an open book. And if there's anything if anybody's listening and they have any questions, or they need any kind of support, or they're themselves going through something that is not ideal, and you need somebody please reach out to us because we want to be there for you as well. I mean, I would always suggest getting professional help, but if you just need somebody to talk to, drop us a note because I know all too well how you can start to close yourself off from people when you get yourself in very interesting relationships. So,
all right. Well, why don't we move on to our peaks, pits, and plans for the week?
yes, get at her, Sissy, because I just spent 43 minutes talking nonstop.
Well, I'll start with my pit. And at the top, I said I'm a little spicy tonight. And it's, well,
like cayenne pepper, jalapeno pepper, or habanero. On the Scoville. The Scoville, that's what it's called?
Scoville. Yeah,
what number of peppers are you? Or where are you at?
I'm probably actually just a jalapeno. But for you, that's probably pretty spicy for me.
Jalapeno is, yeah, for sure. You err on the side of more like a green pepper.
Yeah, green pepper. That's as spicy as I get is a green pepper. But today I'm probably a jalapeno pepper.
Okay, do tell.
Yeah. Well, before we recorded the podcast, late this afternoon, I was still working. Dad called. It's out of the ordinary for Dad to call me while I'm working. And so I take the call because I don't know why he's calling me while I'm working. And he just wanted to chat, which is not ideal when I'm working. But Dad, I'll take your call always, no matter what, during the time of day, just because I want to make sure that you're living. And if you need something, that we can support you. But today, Dad didn't need anything. But we were chit-chatting, and it got to the point where we were talking about the podcast. And Dad said we should stop swearing on the podcast. Well, that.
Nothing like your father telling you 40-year-old self what to do.
Dad, respectfully, thanks for the feedback, but we aren't going to change who we are. We drop all the F-bombs, way worse than in the podcast. I think Krissy and I censor ourselves a little bit when it comes to swearing. She actually did it earlier tonight when we were recording. When she said hell, she almost dropped the F-bomb. I'm spicy because I don't like being told what to do, especially when it comes to our podcast, which is a creative outlet for me and a place that I'm allowed to just be who I am.
That's us. And that's what we said from the beginning. We are going to be us. We're going to be real. We're going to be raw. We're not going to put on this facade. No, you get what you get and don't get upset.
Yeah. So you will hear us swear and
don't listen.
That's right. That's our uncensored take on this. So that's why I'm a little spicy tonight. That's my only pit. I had another great week, and I always forget to tell our listeners why we do our peaks, pits, and plans. And the whole title of our podcast is called Sister Social Call. And a social call is an opportunity for us to check in with our well-being and make sure that we're okay. And so that's why we do our peaks, pits, and plans each week, is so we can check in with each other. Although we talk to each other almost every day, but it is a pretty great practice for us to be grateful for all this greatness that we do have. And, just the once in a while that we have a little blip in life, we can share it here. As for my peaks, there's so many. Again, this week, we went to Cologne on the weekend. I laid at our friend's pool literally all day Saturday, from like 11 in the morning to like 8 at night. It was so glorious. It was so hot. It was so awesome. On Sunday, I went to my first Pilates class, and it had the reformer machine. So that was really fun and interesting. And I hope that I can do them here in Invermere once in a while. It's a nice way to work out. Went for a hike, went back to our friend's pool. On our way home from Kelowna, we stopped at a few fruit stands, and I really want to highlight one for those folks that travel out this way. We stopped in Armstrong, which most people will know Armstrong for Armstrong cheese that you would see in the grocery store, but they also have a place called Village Dairy there. And oh my goodness, they have cheese there, but they also have a little restaurant, and it was awesome. We had grilled cheese sandwiches, which is amazing to have at a cheese place.
At the cheese place, yeah.
Exactly. So we had fancy grilled cheese sandwiches, picked up some cheese, got blueberries. Everything was great. It was awesome. Another peak was someone from high school reached out to us through Instagram, and I reconnected about just high school. She's been interested in the podcast. So thank you, Jen, for reaching out to us and reconnecting. Thanks for the question about Krissy's divorce. This is why we are trying to build this beautiful little community, and it really does keep us motivated and excited about what we're doing. So thank you. Plans? Well, tomorrow night I'm volunteering at the thrift store. I haven't done that for a while.
Oh, I hope you find me some sweet duds. Honestly, that jean dress you bought me last time, I love it, Sissy. You had
Oh,
such a good store.
yeah. We'll see how it goes tomorrow night. Anyways,
Okay, carry on.
plans.
Sorry. Yeah.
Plans. Tomorrow night, like I said, I'm going to be working at thrift store. Saturday, I am participating in a mock reception center exercise with the Canadian Red Cross. So I've talked about how I'm a volunteer with the Red Cross. We are going to be doing some training. I'm actually quite nervous for this exercise because I haven't done any reception center work in a year, which is great. I don't want to actually be setting up a reception center ever, but when there's real life people acting as evacuees, like I want to be on my A game.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'll probably have to do a little bit of homework on Friday night. To dust off my skills and make sure I can even log into the system, because that would be like a classic fail if I can't even log into the training website. So anyways, so that's exciting. Sunday, Sean and I are gonna have a pretty low-key day. And because Monday I have a medical appointment in Calgary. For our listeners, I've talked about how I have nerve issues in my arms, wrists, and hands. And so I've been on a quest to figure out what's going on. So my appointment in Calgary Monday is actual nerve testing. So once I have that done, I probably have a pretty good idea of what my treatment options will be after that. So that will be great. And then I think that's really about it. How about you, sis? What kind of peaks, pits, and plans do you have going on?
Okay, well, I have no pits this week, so we're doing pretty good. The car is behaving for the moment. But my peaks, well, I got my garden totally weeded at the farm, which was, I felt so victorious, but I did have to spend, I don't even know how many hours it took me to do it. The entire weekend, Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and half of Monday. So that's great. I was able to get to a Pilates class this morning with Jolynn. So that was lovely. I love those classes. I wish I could go every morning. It just doesn't work out for me. But I had a cancellation this morning and I seized the opportunity to do a workout class in that time. Instead of trying to fill it, I was like, self-care is better sometimes. And then here, I'd have to tell you guys about this peak. It's probably going to surprise you all, but Justin Bieber released a new album called Swag this week, and I'm obsessed with it. So there's a few things that I think I love about it. One, he's a guilty pleasure a bit. He's been low on the radar for the last 4 years, so he wasn't on my music. He didn't even really dawn on me, but I do follow him on Instagram. So, over the last few months, I start to see these kind of weird posts by him, and I'm like, oh, like this is probably a publicity stint. There's probably something coming up here. Because, there's all this yammer about him, and he's going crazy, and his relationship is failing, and blah, blah, blah. And so I was hooked in, but I knew, I was like, man, there's something coming. There's something coming. And yeah, he dropped this amazing kind of R&B album. And I love it. The song that I love on it the most is called Butterflies.
Okay, well, I will go after we record here. I'll go and listen to it.
Okay. Anyways, then to my plans. I'm going to stay home Friday night just stay home after work. Maybe I can squeeze in around a golf with a couple of my girlfriends. If not, that's fine. My house needs a good dusting, vacuum, that kind of thing. I really need to get that done. I start my flower subscription. So I'm a big time gardener and I grow a big, huge cut flower garden. And so I have a subscription. People signed up to do it and it starts on Tuesday, this week coming up. So I'm very excited about that. So I'll be making bouquets of flowers. I think I'll have 14 or 15 people signed up for it. I had 25 last year. I was wanting to dial down, so I'm happy about that. So far, I think there's 12 people who've paid who are confirmed. So I'm happy. I'm happy about that. That's a fun amount of flowers for me to do. So I'm actually really excited about doing the subscription because I said to everybody, quality over quantity and being able to focus on the creativity of it. I want to make them each kind of individual, unique, and just have fun with it. Like the art of arranging flowers. I just want to enjoy that more. So that's kind of why I wanted to dial that down. So very excited about that. And then I don't think I have anything else going on this next week. It's pretty low key, which I'm good with. I forgot another peak. Another peak. Yesterday, I had supper with my mom. She made me these little tuna salads because I'm on Weight Watchers, as I said in the last episode. And the tuna salad's good. So that was awesome. It was very flavorful. And the flavoring on it is just lemon juice. But all with the onion and tomato and everything in there, it was so yummy.
Okay.
So that's it. That's going to do it for me. I think that's going to wrap up our episode.
Totally. for listening to Sister Social Call. You can find us on Instagram under Sister Social Call. You can find Krissy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can find me, Stacey, on Facebook and LinkedIn. We are always excited to hear from you guys. We try to engage with you as soon as you reach out to us, and we will do episodes just like this from our conversations that we have out there. So that wraps it up. Sis, do you have anything final to say?
Nope. I think that does it for me. So love you, sis.
Love you too.